April or May, we send out to the schools an evaluation.
Thank you, Ms. Wagner.
Other than
Mr. Sandberg?
Other than the need to change after 17 years, could you give us some insight? Let me backtrack.
Sure.
Clearly, there are a number of questions that surround this issue. Clearly, this board was not involved in any input on this issue. Clearly, from the communications that have occurred over the last few days, there are many questions. My view is that we need to backtrack and be more clear and more specific. I would like to know more about this company that you're recommending. I trust you implicitly, but I don't want to be asked to vote on anything without being given the background. I don't think it's fair. So with all due respect,
Wait a minute.
I would like to amend the motion and say that this item to be returned for future action. Thank you. And I would welcome a
I'd like to
second.
respond, Mr. Sandbar.
I would like
Let
to
him
second the
finish.
motion, please, if there is a second. If there is no second, then you
Is there a
just
second?
go ahead.
Well,
He has a motion on the floor first, so we need to address his motion first.
Okay, let's,
Are you going to second his
Yes,
motion?
yes.
Anyone seconding it?
I'll second it, I just want to continue the
All right,
conversation.
yeah, well, there'll be conversation. So there's a second to the motion? Okay, so you have a second to the motion that you asked to table this to one more meeting? Okay, now the questions or comments regarding Shakib's amendment?
I'd like to hear what Dr. Escalante has to say.
This item was pulled off the agenda already once because there was fear that there wasn't enough information, enough research done on this project. Okay, probably 2 weeks ago, Scott, 3 weeks ago?
Yes.
I personally went out and spoke to every single one of the principals that has done business with our security companies because I was concerned about the issue. How many times, Scott, has this been in the weekly board letter?
At least two.
At least 2 occasions, with all of the details, facts, and figures on 2 different occasions. So if there's a question about whether the information was provided, it was provided.
Dr. Escalante, with all due respect, you are recommending a company that I don't know anything about. That's all I'm talking about. You
How
did not
often
hear
do-
me.
And how often do we do that?
You did it now.
Half of the companies that are in this.
You did it now.
In this board
I'm
agenda.
asking, what do we know about this company? Is it unfair of me to ask?
All right,
I don't think it is.
Let's get to the amendment and the question on the floor here. The question on the floor here presently is...
I don't think it
He's
is.
saying, the question that's being asked is basically, there was a board, it was in the board report, board letter twice. Which board letters do we know? Was it during, in August, when we pulled it? Do you remember when it was?
Before the initial process of the bidding process on
I recall
June
reading the
20th.
initial, that a bidding process was going to begin, right? That was in the board, that was the first one I read.
Yeah.
The second one was detailing, there was some questions or comments from some of the school sites,
Right,
correct?
interviewing, talking about the interview process and the questionnaire
But there was nothing in there
process.
defining SB and the background about SB and the background history of SB?
Not defining the history of SB, no.
And what school districts that SB's been working for and what the results were for? Is there anything,
I said that
has there been any
information
background
is-
information
is-
there?
That information is not there.
Thank you very much.
That information wasn't there? What information was provided in the board letter reports then that we weren't, or some of us were privy of or some of us weren't?
Yes, about the process, how the process was handled.
We're on to our next speaker. Our next speaker is Guido, and correct me if Dragmuller. Am I saying it right, Guido? Almost. Almost. I got Guido right, though. Guido.
Okay. Okay, Drogenmiller.
Yes, sir.
That's easier. Thank you, Guido. Guido.
Mr. President Krikorian, members, I want to thank you for letting me speak a few words on behalf of Armed Guard Security. Just for your information, I'm retired from Glendale Police Department and was with them for about 38 years. Excuse me, I'm just getting over bronchitis. Throughout the years, I've worked on and off as security for Armed Guard. One of the biggest contracts I worked with was the movie industry. And recently, Armed Guard contacted me to work as a supervisor school district. And my job was to go from school to school, check on the employees, and also talk to the principals and vice principals and those that were in charge of security. From my experience with all these contacts, basically never had any negative contacts with any of these people. And I'm just here to let you know that everything was going fine, and apparently I don't know if this is coming to an end now or not, but I just thank you for hearing me.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming to the Board of Education. For public communication, next card I have is Dean Guerrero. Dean, thank you for coming.
President Krikorian, Superintendent Escalante, distinguished board members and administration, thank you very much for allowing me to speak here tonight on behalf of Armed Guard as well. This is basically our last and final chance to address the board before the board makes this decision about Armed Guard's appeal. We do understand that the recommendation is to deny Armed Guard's appeal, but we strongly believe if this school district does deny Armed Guard's appeal, it's making a very, very big mistake. We strongly believe that the safety within the school district will be substantially diminished. We believe that there is no reason why that the school district should move away from 17 and a half years of proven excellent service provided by Armed Guard. The major reason why Armed Guard has been provided a contract for security guard service for the last 17 and a half years was because Armed Guard has been successful in deterring any type of major catastrophic event or any type of major crime within the school district. The school district's website itself talks about how Glendale is one of the safest cities within this nation, and that the reason behind that is that the school district here is extremely safe. And there is no dispute at all that Armed Guard's previous 17 and a half years has tremendously contributed to the safety within the school district and the safety within Glendale in itself. There's been allegations in the past that the reason for the request for proposal was because there were some concerns about Armed Guard's service within the school district. Now, we haven't been provided with any type of tangible evidence that would support any type of complaints made against Armed Guard. The only information and evidence that we do have is continued excellent reports from the various school districts, from the various school principals within the school district. So it's extremely difficult to understand why the school district, after 17 and a half years, would stray away from the security guard company that has successfully provided security service within this district. Now, aside from protecting the safety within the school district, Armed Guard has also closely worked within the school district with its budget. It's hard to believe that 17 and a half years ago, when Armed Guard initially submitted its proposal, that the hourly rate that Armed Guard charged was $10 per hour. 17 and a half years later, it's only increased by $3.50. Now, the difference between Armed Guard's contractual rate for the 2007 and 2008 school year and the security guard company that the school district has decided to go with is a savings of over $50,000. Now, given the budget crisis and the difficulty in allocating monies within the school district, an annual savings of over $50,000 could certainly make a difference within the school district. There's nothing further from the allegations that was made against Armed Guard, and we are here simply along with retired Glendale police members who also worked with Armed Guard for the last decade or so, who also provided service with the police department here for over 30 years, strongly urges the board to consider Armed Guard's appeal and grant Armed Guard's appeal. And denying Armed Guard's appeal would just substantially weaken the school district's safety. We strongly believe that. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak here on behalf of Armed Guard.
Thank you for coming, Dean. I appreciate your comments. Scott, there's no more cards. See no more cards for public communication. I appreciate that. We're on to the next item, which is the consent calendar, and there's a resolution in the consent calendar. And at this time, I need a
Move
motion.
approval of the consent calendar?
Second.
The consent calendar. And at this time, I need
Move
Motion.
approval of the consent calendar?
Second, and Mr. Krikori and I need to advise Mrs. Ishisaka of an abstention.
I have to abstain on item number 10. I'm abstaining on rejection of Armed Guard appeal to award bid, and it's number 10, so I'm abstaining on that vote. The rest is a resolution. Is there any other comments or questions? Mrs. Boger has
Mrs.
one?
Ishisaka, on page 20, I am abstaining on item 10618.
Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Krikorian,
Ms.
could
Nahbedian?
we have Dr. Escalante read the third paragraph of consent item number 10, so we're,
Consent calendar.
I don't want to discuss it, I just wanted it to be read so that that there's clarity on what we're voting on.
Item number 10 is rejection of Armed Guard appeal of award bid number P, as in Paul, 18, for security guard services.
Ms. Phyllis, we're on roll call, actually, because there's a resolution there, so we have to do a roll call vote, and you have my one abstention. And Mrs. Boger's
Could you repeat the
abstention.
motion? Who made the motion and second it?
I made the motion.
At this time, approval agenda order, and I have a couple amendments to there to pull consent item number 1 to action item 1A, which is the discussion of the minutes, and consent item number 10 as an action item, number 1B, which was the security contract with SB. Those are two items to be pulled out.
Move approval of the agenda with the